Right. So are you saying you harmed someone that you dated?
How did you die?
Scared.
I'm so sorry about that.
Wasn't right.
You are correct.
We'll wait. When they cross, it's like brighter. And that allows more and more souls to come. With ghosts, who are people just like us.
Find. Light. Home. After.
My name is Gabrielle Gardner. From the time I was a little girl, I have seen and heard the dead. For years it terrified me, until I began to understand that they are people just like you and me. Most of the souls that I meet are looking for assistance. I had no idea why or how to help them, until I had a life-changing experience, as my guide showed me how to assist souls in the in-between. These are souls in the non-physical who have died, and not yet fully crossed over to the place of light and love. These souls have often experienced extreme pains and traumas, and still need to release the heavy energies that can carry over from a life. I am now dedicated to doing everything I can to help the souls I meet share their stories, and process and release their traumas. Once they have expressed what they wish to share, I then work with my guides to perform an ancient healing ceremony to honor these souls and help get them to where they are meant to be. Together with a small team of spirit workers and healers, we are determined to document spirit communication, honor these souls, help them share their stories, and carry out the sacred process of soul crossings. Hey everybody! You are about to watch another episode of Remarkable Spirit The Crossings, but I wanted to share a couple things first because what you're about to watch is going to look quite a bit different from what you've seen in other episodes in this season so far. It's going to look and sound different, and that is because we had to completely change the structure of this episode, the way that we were filming and communicating with the soul who is at the center of this communication. His name is Carlos, because the lights and the cameras that we were using was triggering some trauma that he had. I'll just share, we were about to start the communication sessions on the evening before Easter, and that was when we were scheduled to do the crossing ceremony for him. By scheduled, I mean Spirit was guiding us to do it that evening. And we got all set up. We set up our cameras and we set up the lights that we usually use for filming. And immediately Carlos began to show that he was frustrated and he was angry and he wasn't communicating with us, and he completely stepped back, and I thought that he was going to leave. And it was just, there was terrible energy from him and around us and all sorts of things. And I realized that the cameras and the lights were triggering trauma that he had. And Spirit showed that it was because forensic investigators and police officers came in at the time of his death and were photographing his body and the body of his girlfriend. This was a murder-suicide. And he felt that was incredibly disrespectful, but they were just doing their job. And so he, again, became incredibly irritated and angry with these lights and these cameras. So we had to shut them down because we will never let the production of this show get in the way of the spirit work that we are doing. We want to document this and share it, but if it's not possible or we need to do it in a different way, we're always going to do that, and we always prioritize the spirit work and assisting the souls that we are working with. So we had to then film the rest of the communication sessions and the crossing and everything else with Carlos using only 3 little body cameras and a cell phone. And so that's why it's going to look and sound different, but we still were able to capture incredible communication and evidence and document this experience with Carlos. So, and it was truly beautiful. As I say beautiful too, I think it's important to note, some people may find it strange with how emotional I get when I'm communicating with Carlos and how much compassion I had for him, because he committed a violent crime, a terrible crime, a heinous crime, and he took the life of somebody that he loved in his own life, but he did so while incredibly altered on substance. I will never make excuses for something like this ever. But I do believe, and what Spirit has shown, is that we are all meant to feel grace, and that it is incredibly important that all of us as souls set down our experiences of a lifetime at the time of our death, and then we transition and ascend up to Spirit, up to the heavenly place. Well, these souls in the in-between aren't able to always do that, and that is what Carlos was experiencing. And so the guides and the angels were actually helping to facilitate him in releasing these things. What ended up happening with him is he, after he'd taken the life of his girlfriend, he took his own life. After he'd taken the life of his girlfriend, he took his own life. So that is where that compassion came from and comes from always. I will always have compassion for souls in the in-between, because that is not where souls are meant to be. They're meant to set down their trauma and lift up to the heavenly place, because that is where they can grow and they can learn how to do life better, how to be better people, how to be better souls. So I very much, while we're here on earth, believe in, of course, severe repercussions and consequences of violent crimes, but I do believe that we are meant to set everything that has been experienced in a lifetime down at the time of our death, and that is what has happened, and will happen for most souls. But so there's always going to be compassion for those who don't experience that, and that is what happened with Carlos. So. And again, he was very, very different at the time of his passing, because he was on substance that altered his mind and his actions in a very dark way. So it was very much unlike who he really was as a person in life. He was not a violent man. So anyways, we wanted to share that. We had to completely change the structure of this episode. We had to get our team down to just the two of us, my mom and myself, and we had to bring the lights way down because the bright lights were too much for him. We had to change the types of cameras that we were using, all of it, but it still is incredible what we were able to capture, and we're excited to share Carlos with you, because he truly was an incredible soul. And in the end, as you will see, he ended up assisting so many others, and there was an incredible group crossing ceremony. So yes, without further ado, here is the footage documenting our time with Carlos and the beautiful crossing ceremony that took place on Easter morning for Carlos and many others. So we're going to do this incredible crossing ceremony, and this soul that I met, I'm not sure what we're going to cut together from the previous sessions, so I'll share real quick. His name is Carlos. He passed 6 or 7 years ago, and I picked him up while we were driving back in late December, and he ended up taking the life of another while he was very high on drugs. He had struggled with addiction, and he ended up taking the life of his girlfriend, who he believed in a delusional state was cheating on him. And so he's working through all that. He's worked through that in a tremendous way. I've been talking with him for days now, and many weeks ago, which I think we'll show, about 5 weeks ago, we had a communication session at another case, and he actually came through on the Jim's box and started talking.
How did you die? Carlos.
He was kind and patient, and I said, you gotta step back for a minute because we're working this other case, and he did. And he continued to do that for whatever this was, 4 or 5 weeks. He has stepped back, and he has actually watched some of the other spirit work that we've done. He's watched house calls. He's watched some of these ones that I work where I'm connected to a soul very deeply at the time of their passing. And he's seen that, and what I felt from him is nothing but kindness and fierce protection. And, excuse me. He's a very kind man, and he is struggling with being defined by this one terrible, terrible act. And I'm not gonna, try to defend that sort of an act, but he very much was not himself while he was on substance. And at his core and in his heart, he very much hates the injustice that, that we witness in this work, and he's seen it. He's been with me through some of it. So I'm just gonna say that Carlos is a very kind man. And he showed that again last night. Okay, so I'm gonna look at that and say what we are doing.
Okay.
I'll start like we're starting the episode. Okay. Hey everybody. So we are here doing another episode of Remarkable Spirit, The Crossings. This is going to be a really stripped down sort of episode. For this soul that we're going to be working with, it really needs to be more intimate, we realized, and smaller. And we learned that. So this one is just myself and my mom sitting here, and what is filming right now, just for the sake of transparency, and she can film it a little bit too, we have a little body cam right there, and we've got a body cam up here. And in the background is our living room. Again, we are in our home. So I just want to set it up so you guys can see what we're doing here. Mm-hmm. And just like what has been shown on a previous case, I'm going to be working with and hopefully communicating with a soul who the guides brought to me quite a while ago now. So in the corner too here is a special spot that I was shown needed to be set up by the guides. So over here is a cross with some citrine points, and that is kind of an area where he can come up to feel safe and to sort of also get some energy to charge himself, because once souls have been in the in-between for a while, they have a harder time interacting here and engaging. And so, like you've probably seen other ghost shows and paranormal shows, and they say, use our energy, and they say that to the souls. We don't do that.
We don't do that.
We don't think that that's an okay thing to do. It doesn't feel safe for us. It doesn't feel right for them. That's giving them a little bit too much permission, even though these souls are very much still in, the white light of God and everything. We just don't think that's the right way to do it.
Right.
And there's other ways to do it, which is truly through these stones of the earth, crystals, because they have a ton of energy, and that's over there. And then also through holy items, because I've seen that holy items hold a tremendous amount of energy.
Yes.
So the cross over here with the citrine towers and the candles, which are also a form of energy, that heat and light, that's the sort of thing we do. And we say, if you want some energy to talk with us, go ahead and step up to a place like that, and then you can come over here. So to set stuff up, also, just because these little cameras don't have great audio, we have a phone right here, just a normal cell phone that's doing like a voice memo recording sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And so we've gotten comments from other things that this is what's setting the devices off. We'll show you here that the phones don't give off EMF when they're not doing something like with Wi-Fi, or they're not making a call. That bumped because I bumped it. So these, again, for transparency, if you hit these meters, see they light up, but when they're sitting still, they don't, okay? So, yeah, these phones are not giving off readings. We can do it with this device too. This is another type of EMF meter. So, yeah. Okay. So, and that's what we have here. So these are EMF meters. We've got two of this type, which they light up as the readings increase. And there's this one here, which is a mel meter, and it also has a temp gauge on it. What else do we have? That phone over there is here because we're going to use a communication app, a spirit box app, this time, because we want to try different devices as well. So we've used radios, we've used theremin devices. We're going to try EMF and phone for this one.
Also trigger object?
Yeah, so this right here is a trigger object, and these three things have a laser grid going, so I'm going to set it off. It's kind of an annoying alarm, which we'll see if that's too much and he's not interested in it. Mm-hmm. But in the middle, there is a little cross.
Do you want to start with a thank you to our guides and just for gathering us together here and providing a safe and warm environment for this?
Yes, good idea.
I think we should do that. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we'll say, Father, Mother God, Holy Spirit, Divine Light, Source of all that is. As we step into the sacred circle of healing today, we are grateful for the guides who are coming through to help us communicate with clarity with the soul who is Carlos today. We are grateful for the guides and the angels who clear this space and raise the vibration of this room so that Carlos is able to come through with clarity. We are able to hear him and feel him. And if he so chooses, he can communicate with these devices as well. So I can see that you were showing me, the guides brought you to me, but you really wanted to show me too what was happening. And you were seeing this loop over and over of right after you had taken the life of somebody that you loved. and you wanted somebody to know that you were feeling deep remorse and deep grief and guilt and anger towards yourself. All of those big, heavy emotions are what is what I believe and what it feels like is holding you in that in-between space. In this place where you are of seeing this loop over and over and not moving forward. There's also a bit of a fear of where you're going to go, but I can already feel that lifting just from the conversations we've had, leading up to this today and yesterday. And I think you're seeing now that that's not a thing. Where you are now is one of the lowest places that you can be. So I'm really happy that that's moving. I think that I'll share just the loop that I'm seeing, which is that I can see that you struggled with addiction for years and years, many years, like a decade. You were young. I can tell that you were very young, probably early 20s, and that you were very much in love with a young woman who was also in her early 20s, and that you one night, I'm not sure if you took too much of something that you normally took or you took something else. It feels like you took something else. So you doubled up on the drugs that you were taking, and it was not a good combination, and it sent you into a very terrible spiral, and you were completely outside of yourself, and you were not like yourself at all, and you became very angry and aggressive. And I can see that, and paranoid. You were very paranoid. I can feel that. You thought people were after you, and you thought that everything was wrong and out to get you. It was just terrible drugs. And you were, I'm going to say it because you're saying it too, you're like out of your mind. And in that moment, you got hooked on the thought that this woman that you loved was cheating on you. And that was the thought that got stuck, and I cannot see if that's true. It feels to me like it wasn't even true, and I think that that's part of this extreme guilt that you're feeling too, is that was just a drug-induced thought, that there was no truth to that. And you ended up at her apartment. I think that you drove there, also very high, and I can see that you went into this apartment, or I think you broke into the apartment. I think you kind of kicked the door in, and you saw her on the couch, and you guys argued for just a couple minutes, like 2 or 3 minutes, just yelling back and forth, and she was trying to get you to calm down, and then you pulled out a gun, and you shot her, just right there, like a few inches from her, and you shot her right in the center of the chest. And the moment that you did that, I can see that you kind of came out of the drug state a little bit, like it shocked you so much that you came out of it, and you felt, I don't even know what the emotion would be, it was just lost, and you felt like you should have been the one that died. That's what you thought at that moment. You said that she shouldn't have died. You could see how I'm starting to hear him, which is good. So he keeps saying she was perfect. She was perfect. She was perfect. He keeps saying she was my queen. She was my everything. She was my perfect angel. And I knew that, and I just couldn't get out of what the drugs were doing. And so you sat there for a minute, and I can see this image that you got really, really stuck, which was of her shoes. That was the first thing I saw in the car that when I got you to, was her shoes in a pool of blood, because when you shot her, she like slumped forward on the couch, and the blood started to drip down, and you just are stuck on that image of seeing that, and it's like a very intense stuck image. I'm like trying to I still am not able to, and the guides aren't able to help get rid of that image, and I'll say it and maybe we'll cut it, but it was like these black Puma, sort of like that velvety velour shoes, and you could see like you could see that blood soaking into them, and you just had these terrible thoughts of like, that's not going to come out. How are you going to get that out? Like, he still wasn't in his mind right, and he was thinking about that, and then he could see like the reflection of the brand in this blood pool, and it was just this really weird thing. And there's something about when people are just very traumatized that kind of causes a fracture, and sometimes an image can get caught, and that's the image that's caught for him. And so I think that right when the shot was fired, it was in like an apartment complex, and neighbors called the police right away, and so you heard the cops coming in just a couple minutes. And I can see that there was a lot of thought of what you should do. I can feel like, should I run? But that's not you, and you knew that wasn't you. You were either going to be there, basically alive or dead. You were going to be there. You weren't going to run away from what you did. Just saw a flash. And so then I could see that you were so as soon as you were sitting there thinking about it, I can see you just started apologizing to your mom, like out loud. I can just see you sitting there, and you just kept saying over and over, like, lo siento, mama, and I can hear it. You're like, lo siento, mama, sorry, mom, over and over, and I can see, like, I'm doing it. You started to, like, rock back and forth, and you were thinking about it, and you were still sort of high, but it was coming off with the adrenaline, and you, like, the thought came in then that I need to end my life, and that's what you were trying to get through it, and you were, like, trying to see if there was something else that you could do, and you kept, you were, I can hear too, you didn't want your mom to have a son in prison, because a bunch of family and friends that you knew had been there, and you knew what that was, and you didn't want your mom to have a son in prison. And that was kind of a deciding factor too, because you knew you'd be there for a long time, if not forever. And it wasn't even a fear. I can tell you were not afraid of, like, the consequences. You weren't afraid of going to jail. You were afraid of, like, what that would mean for your family, like that constant stress. And so and then I can feel like I keep getting the muscle memory of, like, you were trying to practice squeezing the trigger for a minute, and you kept, like, doing this and trying to, like, think about how it would happen. And then I think the cops pulled in, and you could hear them getting close, and then you just held it up, and I can see that you shot yourself, and you shot yourself in the head. And that was the end of that moment of life. But then I can see that you stayed there after for a few hours, and you watched as they moved her body, and I can feel how truly deeply you loved her, and that was incredibly hard, traumatic to watch that part, and you felt like nothing they did with her body was good enough. And I can see you, like, essentially moving around that room, almost yelling at those people about how they were treating her body, because you felt like they weren't treating it with respect, and they were doing, their job. But I can see this is the first time I'm seeing this too, that you were angry about them photographing her body. That's interesting. And so there's, like, this might be a thing, like flashing camera bulbs.
Oh.
Yeah. So, like,
was that the flash?
Well, like bright camera lights. Yeah, so I think that the bright camera lights were an issue. But then now I'm actually hearing, like, a zip body bag, like the zip of it, and he's just really caught on that too. So there's a lot of things that you're stuck on, and I feel that. I think that we could try to use the app to hear.
Do you want to light that candle for him?
Yeah. We were working a case, like, I don't know, 4 or 5 weeks ago now.
Yeah.
And we were using the radio, the Jim's box, and we heard Carlos came in for a minute.
So did you take another person's life? How did you die?
Carlos, in a very Spanish accent.
Yeah, for sure.
That was somebody else.
Yeah.
Interesting.
We're here to talk to the person that has been bothering people here.
I bet that's the guy from the couple I picked up on the road.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I picked up a couple on the road.
Yeah,
that was
recently?
Yeah, and I still have them around.
In December.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hey.
Hey.
Okay, so wait a minute. Carlos again.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay, so we're going to talk to you, Carlos,
a different day.
A different day, but I know that you're there. It was a murder-suicide out towards Clackamas.
Mm-hmm.
So that's interesting that did I hear that? That was him too, bedroom. Blood. That's all him. He was very disturbed. He saw her and was upset.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Carlos, I appreciate you coming through and talking to us, and we're going to work with you soon, but right now we're trying to talk to somebody else in a different place, okay? So I'd appreciate it if you could step back. I know you're getting close to ready. And we'll do that soon, okay? Should hear it again in Spanish.
And Carlos, it doesn't mean that you'll lose the connection.
No.
Okay, you're still connected to her.
Yeah, I've felt you for over a week now, almost 2 weeks, I think.
Yeah.
Or longer even.
Yeah. Longer.
So it's okay. And stated his name and actually kind of tried to communicate with us for a couple minutes. And so I think we'll be able to communicate with him that way. But he has been like with me off and on, which is something that they do when I'm aware of someone, but it's not the time yet for them to cross over. And there's a lot of reasons or a lot of things that go into the timing of a crossing. And this one in particular had a bunch of stuff. One, he had to work through the stuff, which has taken some time because it's just a lot. So he's still working through some of that. But two, his family and him, a little bit less him, but still him, my ear started to ring. His family was very religious and, devout Catholic. And it was a huge part of their life. And I mean, it was, daily morning prayer and church every weekend without fail and every holiday. And so we're actually doing this during Holy Week. And that was necessary and needed for this crossing. And so the timing of this is very much
important.
Very important, yeah. So it had to be Holy Week, and it had to be because this is for the way his family celebrated. I can see it was a huge celebration, a time of celebration, and they had big family meals together and prayed together, and it was just a very warm time. It was a good time, one of his favorite times. And also I will say that this is going to be a version of Awake. That's what he wants, because generally his family would have had Awake, and they did not, because they were uncomfortable with what had happened. Once you cross over, you can be in both places at once. Sometimes, it's not all the time, but you get to visit. Loved ones visit. There are people here all the time. So he doesn't want to leave because he thinks that he has to fix his mom.
Right.
He just keeps saying, I gotta fix my mama.
Yeah.
But this one's kind of hard because, I don't know what to say to that.
Right.
I don't think that you can, and I don't think you're supposed to.
Mm-hmm. Mom's love forever, Carlos.
Yeah.
That's our dog. One of our
There's
dogs.
Stevie again.
Stevie, our little...
Stevie's our little spirity doggy who feels
Right.
the spirity energy.
Right.
I'm going to light this candle, and then let's try the...
Okay. And what is this doing?
I don't know.
This provides a little
I think
energy
that
for
this
the
is
table?
just, I think it's warmth and light, because what he's feeling right now is, it feels dark, and it feels very, it doesn't look dark to him. I think he can see things pretty normally. But he just feels empty and cold. Mm-hmm. Like, emotionally, I mean. Mm-hmm. He just feels like, I hurt everybody. I mean, that's just what he feels like. I hurt everybody. Yeah. So, let's try this out loud.
Okay. That sounds good.
Okay, so I'll say too, as we start this communication session, we are grateful that it is grounded in the white light of God. And we ask that in this moment we only speak with guides and Carlos. Oh. There we go. Yeah, speed down.
So Carlos, I think that you used the other box that we had, and this is an app on our phone. So hopefully you'll be able to use this in the same way, because it is also scanning radio waves.
Okay, so if you're here with us, can you say your name now?
I think
did you
that's
kind of hear it quiet underneath?
Yeah.
I thought I did too. It sounded like under Carlos real quick.
Yeah, really fast.
Stevie says, here I am. Okay. So, also the voice sounded kind of similar to what I think it sounded like. Okay, so we think that we just heard you, Carlos. Thank you for here. I heard a little here. Thank you for communicating with us this way. This is great that you can use it. I'm trying to think of what to say here. Is there something that you want to share with us?
Did Gabrielle share the story, Will? Did Gabrielle share the story, Will?
Did Gabrielle share the story, Will?
Did Gabrielle share the story, Will? She tried to tell your story.
Like helping?
Yeah. Well, and also, I think, Carlos, you've seen what Gabrielle does and the spirit work that we do to help other souls.
I'm going to stop while you say that. And then
Oh,
start.
okay.
So, Carlos, we're just going to try out some different stuff because we're working on finding good ways to communicate with you, too. And we find that different souls who are at different frequencies use different devices, are able to use different devices. So we're just going to try to find one that works for you. So this one has a word bank, and it's theorized that you can pick out words to help tell your story, to communicate with us. So
I think you have to hit calibrate, don't you?
No, it already did it.
Oh, you did?
Pretty sure, yeah. Yeah, and so you can just start to kind of work with that and see. So the word harm came up.
Again, this session is just for Carlos.
Right. So are you saying you harmed someone that you dated, that you were in love with? Yeah. So that's great. That feels like that's you too. That feels like that's working. Every way I say this sounds so cold, and I hate, because I usually do all of this in my head, and I don't say these things out loud, but I'm working on saying it so other people can understand what I'm saying. So it feels so invasive to ask these questions. But at the same time, we're trying to help people understand that we can have these conversations with ghosts, who are people just like us, who, in this case, Carlos has experienced incredible trauma.
Hi, boyfriend.
Hi, boyfriend.
Yeah.
Sit.
She
Medical.
was sitting on the couch.
Yep.
Medical people came.
Right.
Find. Light. Home. After.
Please don't what?
Arguing again.
Oh, we won't argue. We won't argue tomorrow.
Scared.
I'm so sorry that
Wasn't right.
You are correct. I am so sorry that happened. We will make this right. We will make a safe space for you. I think tomorrow morning is right.
Talk about it.
Talk about what?
Needed more. More.
Did you need more time?
Carlos.
Oh, thank you, Carlos. Okay.
Preach.
Carlos.
Timing.
Okay.
Going to do it different time.
Yes.
We'll wait.
Okay. We'll make a beautiful crossing ceremony for you all tomorrow. Carlos, can you tell me how many others?
We'll come back here.
Wonderful. Yes. Can you tell me how many other souls there are to cross?
All of them.
Okay. Do you know how many there are?
Go get them.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
When this crossing ceremony for him couldn't happen, he decided to essentially make the best of it and become this incredible guide for others. And he had this beautiful transformation in his beliefs and his thoughts. So he used last night, which again, this feels like a very guided thing, that it didn't work yesterday. Because overnight he is gone and, Jesus. He has gathered other souls who are holding similar beliefs to him, that taking their own life meant that they had done this unforgivable thing, and they have some religious trauma. So it's an incredibly ironic and beautiful thing that we're doing this on Easter morning. Because there are so many beautiful, beautiful souls coming through from the other side, and they're guides and they're angels, and they're coming through to get these people. Because in between, nothing is holding these people other than their own thoughts and beliefs. And so their beliefs are what was getting in the way of them crossing over to the heavenly place. Because they, low self-worth, they were struggling with their mental health, many of them, in really big ways. Some of them thought, saw no way out. It's just really low energy at the time of their passing, and that got caught. So Carlos has stepped into this. Carlos stepped into this role as like a guide for these other souls to go get them. Sorry, I have boogers. And that's what happened. So this is actually going to be a collective crossing, which happens sometimes. I've done probably 15 or 20 of them, and they're beautiful. And it happens because there's usually one soul who was very low energy. And then in his healing process, which this is Carlos in this case, when they go and when they cross over, it's like, if you want to call it the veil, whatever it is, it opens wider and bigger, and when they cross, it's like brighter, and that allows more and more souls to go. So it's a really beautiful thing, and he's doing that. So that's what we're gonna do. So we're doing this, and I just need to keep saying his name because there's this thing where his mom is ashamed of what he did, and his biggest hurt pain is his mom will not say his name. And his mom will not say his name, so we're gonna say his name, Carlos, and we're gonna say that we see you, and you are so deeply loved, and we see what an amazing man you are. And we're happy that you can see that this final moment that was so tragic does not define you, and we send so much love to your girlfriend, who has very much peacefully crossed over. She crossed over right at the time, and we're sending love to her family as well, because there's no way to there's nothing big enough to say for that kind of a loss, but we can do nothing but just send them love. And so I can feel that you're doing that too, and you're also sending a sister of yours so much love, because she's the only one who will say your name and is grieving you, and said that she will always love you, and so you're around her a lot. I can feel that, and you had a fear, which I can feel you've released now, that when you crossed over you wouldn't be able to come back and see her, and that's not how it works. You can come back and see her. So yeah, from what I see with my connection to spirit, the end is always beautiful in one way or another. Sometimes it just takes time, but there's always this beautiful ending where people get to this heavenly place at the end of a life, even if there's this little interim in the in-between. The other thing that I wanted to say too is that we last night were sitting like in the darker room, and we had on our black Remarkable Spirit jackets and all of that, and what came through this morning is that that's not the energy that the guides want at all for this one. It's supposed to be bright and light and celebratory, so myself and my mom are wearing our bright pink Easter, and it feels better and it feels right, and the sun is out. I'm very emotional because there's a lot of souls here who felt a lot of pain. I got some questions on another episode where people are like, why are you crying so much? There's two things happening here. One, I've seen a lot of crap and so I'm tired. But two is that there's something where when these souls come through, we have this very unique experience as people, as souls in a body, where like what I just did, that sob, that moved a ton of energy and a ton of emotion. And souls who have crossed over to heaven, or the heavenly place, the place of light, don't need to do that because they don't even feel these low vibration feelings. But the souls who are out of a body but in the in-between can't move the energy this way. And so I believe what's happening is sometimes it feels like they're crying through me. And I think a lot of spirit workers and mediums have this, where a lot of this is my grief for them, but it's kind of bigger than that because they're strangers. So it's odd that I have this much of an impact, it's this big of an impactful emotional thing, and I think it's them. I think that they are somewhat, if you want to call it channeling, whatever, but they're just using a bit of me at this time to express their emotions and their feelings, to get it out really quickly and in these big ways. And that helps them to move the energy before a crossing ceremony. So I do get extra emotional during these communication sessions and crossing ceremonies because I feel some of what they feel, I see some of what they see, and then I think that they're able to use sort of this human energy to move some of the emotional energy that is still with them as a soul in the in-between. So it's a beautiful thing. It hurts, but then as it goes, I feel better, and they feel better as well. In that vein, or in that same thing, another thing is happening right now that is what I call venting, and it's happening for Carlos, and it's where when I deeply connect to a soul, it generally happens to a soul that I've connected to who is still living. I'm with them at the time of their passing, but this is the second time it's happened to a soul who had a traumatic passing that I'm doing a crossing for. It also happened for a woman named Sandy, who we talked about and showed in an episode, Remarkable Spirit, Memories of a Medium. And some of her stab wounds, she was stabbed in the chest, came out on my chest at the time of the crossing ceremony. And so for Carlos, he shot himself in the head. And I have like a spot coming up that I can feel is very warm. And I think that right here, it's gonna, I can just feel it's like tingly, and they don't feel, I don't know how to express what they feel like. It feels just like a lot of heat, like a lot of hot energy coming out. And so I believe this is where he shot himself. And as this is coming out, it's been coming out for about an hour or two as we prep for this crossing. He's getting rid of that death trauma, and I'm also getting rid of it because I saw it and felt some of it and heard it and felt that anguish of him making that decision. That was such a huge choice for him. And so that gets it out of my body too, because when I pick these things up from them, if I don't let it out, I get sick. So this will stop me actually from getting sick. So I'm getting used to that. And the guides asked permission to do this. So that's going deep, and I don't know how much we'll share of it. Do you want me to take these off? I think it's under, and it's under my sideburn. Yeah. So that's a way for that energy to come out of me too, because I've stored a lot of this, because again, he's been with me for like 5 weeks, and he gets to get rid of that death trauma this way too, because it's being shared through a body. Anyways, so that's coming out, and then everybody else is coming through that he is bringing through. And so the energy is feeling wonderful today. So we're gonna do a beautiful crossing ceremony for a bunch of them. Okay. want to do is help. So there's a lot of, so Carlos is doing really great at bringing so many different souls forward. And this vessel right here is to help them clear away their heart pain and their grief associated with their passing, the end of their life, and taking their life for almost everyone who is here today. And then a big part of this spot too is releasing that religious trauma, which is why there's the rosary here in it. And this very interesting thing is happening, that like as I was going through this, different souls were coming through, and multiple souls who came through, this candle would go out like they were really not being able to get through that process, because it's so deep, it's so like woven into the mesh of a person, those beliefs. And so the guides and the angels are really helping them to let that go. But we're going to go ahead and do a prayer, which we've said this before, but a lot of them have fears that they're going to go to hell or be in an eternal hell because of what they've done. And so we're going to say a prayer for them, even though it's not necessary, and then we're going to also ask the guides and the angels to help them have clarity and peace on this, and see that that's not how things work. So we're going to say, Father, Mother, God, Holy Spirit, Divine Light, Source of all that is, as we come to this sacred circle of healing today, we offer infinite gratitude to the guides and the angels who are carrying out this beautiful ceremony to help these souls understand that they too deserve peace and love and an abundance of joy and happiness, that nothing they have done is unforgivable, that they will find peace in the heavenly place. We ask the guides and the angels to bring their light down upon these souls here in this moment right now, to help illuminate them and brighten their view so that they do not see the darkness that is within their own thoughts. We want to help them lift their energy, so we call in the guides and the angels right here, right now, to lift the energy of these souls who are coming through. And as this veil opens for a moment to the heavenly place and souls are crossing through, we ask that they be that the guides walk with them so that they may feel safe, they may feel peace, they may see, again I'll say, see with clarity that nothing that they have done is unforgivable, that they are meant to know peace, that this life that they were in has ended, but that their soul is eternal and they are meant to find peace, and that they do not need to hold on to these feelings and these emotions from this life that they're no longer in. So we ask the guides and the angels to help show that clearly now. We're grateful that these truths are seen by many on this day, and we ask that they see these truths now. We are grateful that the guides and the angels have done this work today. We know that nothing but that we do is by us, by our hand. We understand that it is all guided by Spirit. That I'm supposed to light another one. That candle went out, and it just, that was it. There's one soul who's really, really, really struggling, and it's someone who's been struggling for a long time. It's not somebody that I know. I'm not getting like a good connection. But that was it. They just helped him see. It was a man. I can tell it was a man. Yeah. And what happens a lot of times in these crossings, we see like when a candle has gone out like that, that really is like a hugely important letting go process. Like that candle going out in that moment was that man in spirit letting go of that trauma. So it's a beautiful thing, and that feeling that I get when that happens is joy. It's just like happiness, and it feels like I can take a deeper breath, and that's what that man feels too. And again, it just takes a second. As soon as they can see it, it's instant. That transformation, that change. So I'm gonna finish this prayer by just saying that we are grateful for this healing that has come to so many today, and we are so grateful for this connection to Carlos, who became this incredible guide for so many of these souls that came through today. So I didn't see a specific thing, but what I just saw was this big, beautiful light come through, and I felt him come And he's here, and he was just like standing there, kind of like letting people go. And it was beautiful. And it feels like a lot. When I would say, I know I could count 8 of them, and I would guess it was probably almost double that, because a lot of times there's ones that just go real quick if there's a chance. So I would guess it was 15-ish souls crossed in this. So now we're going to say that I'm connecting with Carlos, and I'm going to say that we can say that he's done his job. He did what he was supposed to. He doesn't need to stay in this place. This was what he was supposed to do, and he did it beautifully. And so now it's his time to go. And that he needs to know that he can do lots of this work from the other side, from the heavenly place. So he doesn't need to stay here to do this. But he feels like this is what he's supposed to do. He's supposed to help others. So we're going to ask the guides and the angels to walk with him as he crosses over. And then I think he's going to actually be in a really beautiful guide position for a lot of souls. So I'm just going to say thank you, Father, Mother, God, for facilitating this beautiful ceremony today. We're thankful to the guides and the angels who help these souls cross over to the place of peace and light and love. And we now seal this ceremony and this prayer in truth and light and love. Amen.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so Carlos had already went, and a bunch of people had went, and then when I sat here to kind of just sit with it, it felt like it was still open, and I could feel that more were going to go, and even more went, and then I saw these beautiful images of a bunch of people sitting in like just like this beautiful grand church. And it was that they got to sit there, and they were there with loved ones who were really religious too, and they were so accepting of them. It was like that just healed so much. And so they got to be there, and they kind of sat in like this heavenly church, because that's what they needed. And it was beautiful. And it was a bunch of them, I mean like a lot were sitting there that had that experience. And then when I got most emotional, after winter, I'm never gonna be able to say this. This guy turned around, and it was my great uncle Stan. Jeez. And I saw him and my great aunt, and they're sitting there, and they said, see, he does love all of his children. That's what they said. to see them and they said, see how good it is. And that was it. And then I just saw this image of like, it just was like flooded with this bright white light, this beautiful church. And then it was just like, I saw these big wood doors close and then it was gone. And it was just like today, it was like a celebration. I mean, it was just like joy and weeping because it was so beautiful. I mean, it was just like joy and love and warmth and just, it was amazing. This feeling, it's like bliss. It was just like bliss.